Hi, all of you. This is Gil. Today is May 6th, 2023. Thinking behind of time here. So, yeah, now this is talking about stress. How much stress can we take? So, like, there's a second blog about it. So, talking about the other part of stress, which is anxiety. So yeah, if I could say how much we could take and how much can I take. So yeah, I do know that anxiety, it may not be anxiety in itself that is bad, but it's what it does. It's what it does that's bad. So right now I'm in this parking lot right here, like you could see behind me. I'm in the Chuck E. Cheese parking lot in Fontana. Well, anyway, when it comes to anxiety and stuff, so yeah, I've had an anxiety since the early 2000s, and it's like a lot of times we could take it, throughout the time, but over time, like having it all the time, over the years, over several years, having it all the time, it can start taking a toll on the body, like in the form of high blood pressure or things like that. And that's why we need to exercise and stuff to help stop that. Like for the body, for the health, and for how we call it. So yeah, but I do know that when we worry too much, or especially like worrying about things that we don't need to be worrying about, we get used to it, but over time, then that's when the body starts to feel it over time with the effect of high blood pressure and all that stuff. So yeah, although I feel fine and everything, but that's the other part of the how much stress we could take. But I would think that like when we worry too much, when we worry in excess, then eventually it could take a toll on the body. Usually in the form of high blood pressure and the things that high blood pressure does and everything. Yeah, and then the mental things, and then talking about like part of the anxiety, like for an example, and when it comes to the mental part of all this, like how much stress can we take mentally? So like over time, like when the stressor keeps coming at us, like over the years, over the several years, we're gonna get so tired from doing the same thing all the time, like anything that puts stress, like let's say for an example, like a mom, like who's always gonna be looking after her kid or something, and then over time when the mom starts getting older and older, she starts to get tired, basically mentally, like we're gonna get so tired that it's like that we're just gonna stop. It's gonna make us want to stop doing it. It's like how I feel mentally as far as the stress is concerned, or the anxiety, mental stress, like when I'm doing, like when it's something that may stress me out, and like doing it so many times, over time, I'm gonna get so tired of doing it that it's gonna take away all my motivation for continuing, and then it's gonna just stop. So the things, I could put an example, like let's say a mom with the youngster that she's always looking after, but after a while, the mom will get kind of tired from it. And then we're not gonna build it, and then it's just gonna stop. And like a car, I could probably use a car for analogy. Like my Mazda, I had a Mazda Protege. That car did really good, and I drove that car 240,000 miles. And I never done anything on it. It was a good car. Back in 1995, well, in the early 2000s when I had the Mazda, I drove that car to 240,000 miles, and it did really good. It did really good. And then, that car can take a lot of stress, apparently. When they're talking about the car analogy, I mean, a lot of stress. I mean, I used to drive the thing all the time, like for my deliveries. I used to drive as much as 500 miles on that car a day. So, I mean, and then over the next couple of years, I drove more than 100,000 miles in just like 2 years. So you can imagine how much stress the car would have went through. But however, going on to the time when I sold the car, because it was packing up a lot of miles, I mean, the engine was still running, but I was starting to see the age of the engine. It was starting to age. So, and it's kind of like us, the mental part of our stress. Like when we go through the anxiety so many times, we start to age from it. I mean, it starts aging, and then things start falling apart on us. And it's like a car analogy. Like eventually, like on that Mazda that I had back in the day, I mean, I was starting to hear the age from it, because the engine was starting to become noisy, but it was still good. But it started to age. So, I mean, started to show its age. It's kind of like the anxiety in my part. I mean, so yeah, I mean, like we start to get tired over time, and then with the anxiety and everything, like with so much of it, we're just gonna, I mean, I'm gonna get so bored of doing the same thing all the time that I'm just gonna stop. I'm gonna lose all motivation for continuing to do stuff I want to do, like involving like stress. Like when it comes to doing hobbies or certain hobbies, or when it comes to like stress related things, we get tired over time. So that's getting to the point where that's the maximum amount of stress we could take mentally. So on the mental part, I mean, I think it can only go until like we either start getting sick, or we start getting old. I mean, and then when we get sick from it, then that's when you're gonna be forced to stop. That's when it's gonna make you stop doing what you do that stresses you out. So yeah, I mean, that's my little blog about it. So yeah, I mean, eventually, like the car, like the Mazda that I had, like a really good quality car. I mean, like it has a limit on how long it's gonna go. I mean, we have a limit on how much we can take. I mean, so yeah, I mean, for me, I've been able to withstand a lot of stress and stuff, especially with anxiety. I mean, that's the other part of the stress that I have to withstand, and I've been able to withstand it pretty well. But of course, eventually, I mean, it's gonna start getting old for me. So, and then I do know that as soon as I could start feeling the effect of the aging, then I'm gonna be forced to stop. I'm gonna be forced to stop doing the things that stress me out. You know, yeah. I mean, our bodies will tell us that we gotta put a stop. I mean, eventually we're gonna. It's like a car, like the Mazda I was talking about. I mean, like the Mazda. I mean, eventually, I mean, as good as the car was, eventually the car is gonna stop. I mean, stop. So yeah, I mean okay. Well, I guess this is my video for the day. This is anxiety, or how much stress we can take. Blog number 2. All right. I hope you liked this video, and I'll see you on the next one.